Welcome to Podcapers, the official podcast of A Place to Hang Your Cape. And this week, oh god, it never ends. I'm not doing a song for this one. I need a fucking break. Cue the music. Hello there, Capers, and as I said, welcome to Podcapers, the official podcast for Place to Hang Your Cape. My name's Scott James Merridew, and this is the show where we talk about various geek and nerd-related topics, and then joined each week by a very special different guest. My guest this week has been on the show plenty of times before. It's Jillian DiBlasio.
Hello.
Hi, Jillian. How are you coping?
I haven't gone insane yet, so that's a good sign. But we still have several weeks to go, as of right now. So we'll see what happens.
God. You know, here in the UK, it's looking like schools aren't going to be reopened until September.
Oh, that's already happened. That's already happened here. We're way past that. we're on the part of when can we go back into offices?
All while several other countrymen decided to protest the mandatory quarantine by leaving the house and infecting others.
You know, to that I just say, Darwinism is a thing. Just let natural selection take its course. That's my view.
But I'm worried that their natural selection is going to affect other people's natural selection.
No,
That's the concern.
No, because the smart people are staying at home and not getting infected, so...
But if you live in a house with a stupid person who leaves the house and comes back...
Oh, I'd kick them out of my house. I'd be like, you're staying in a hotel. Get out of here.
Sorry, Uncle Steve, we're not letting you back in.
Exactly.
I live here.
Exactly. Go sleep in the car or something. I don't care.
God. Not that really Britain can claim the intellectual higher ground in this, as many of my countrymen have taken to knocking down 5G cell towers, thinking that it spreads coronavirus. Human beings are stupid people.
Yes, they are.
Oh, God. And you know who else is a stupid human being? Me. Because despite being fucking exhausted from doing the fourth dirty Disney dozen, I guess I'm just a glutton for punishment. Because both Jillian and my good friend Mark Russell convinced me to do a Rescript episode on Beauty and the fucking Beast. I mean, I appreciate the challenge, but I need a break, guys.
I mean, to be fair, I also suggested to do Witcher as a review, and you didn't want to do it. So I gave you options.
Because I'm not insane! I'm stupid, but I'm not insane!
I gave you options.
Whether it be the books, the video games, or the recent TV series, or the less recent TV series.
I was going for just the TV series, but you took it upon yourself to interpret that way differently, so...
Even so, even if it was just the TV series, that would be a monumental undertaking. And let's be honest, Beauty and the Beast... All I'm saying is, with Beauty and the Beast, I know where I stand. I know what works. I know what doesn't work, even if no one else does. I'm so alone in the world.
I mean, you put that on yourself, to be fair.
It's true. It's true. There's no one to blame but myself, and perhaps Walt Disney himself, and maybe Michael Eisner. Definitely Michael Eisner.
I mean...
and hey, remember a while back when we mentioned that Bob Iger quit?
Oh,
apparently he's back.
Yeah, well, you know, it's a crisis, so... And he's not taking any money, so at least there's that.
Oh, at least there's that, but it's just like one ray of sunshine. I've got one ray of sunshine for the first time in fucking ages, and it just gets snatched away from me. I swear Disney is just doing this deliberately to annoy me. I mean, my doctors say that's your persecution complex talking, but what do they know?
Yeah, I don't know what to tell you. No comment.
Yeah. So, yeah, Beauty and the Beast, the first animated film to win an Oscar, universally beloved, firmly cemented, I think Little Mermaid kickstarted things, but firmly cemented the idea of the Disney Renaissance, and just everybody fucking loves it.
Yeah.
Except for me.
Of course.
because I am the lone sane person in all the world, and humanity shuns and ignores me and rejects me because of my brilliance, obviously.
Sure. You can say that all you want.
Oh, God. So, I've spoken about this movie several times before. I'm sure the capers are sick to death of it. But just in case, capers, let me surmise my feelings of Beauty and the Beast. Here's the thing. I get, out of all the Disney films, this is the one, bar none, that I get why people love it so much. I get it. I've seen it, so I know, I get it, I do. I get why people like it. I think, however, because of the admittedly very good aspects of it, like the animation and the vocal performances and the songs and stuff like that, people tend to ignore some of the more unsavory aspects of the characters and specifically the plot, to the point where poor Emma Watson had to do cartwheels to say, no, it's not about Stockholm Syndrome. No, really, no.
Okay, but you need to understand, but the same thing is that Disney with their sequels has this thing where they're trying to overcorrect things that don't fully exist in the original animated films. It's just things that people are saying as if they've never watched the movie or they haven't watched it in like years, and they're just pulling it from like their memory of the movie. But
okay, so let's talk about it. Let's talk about the live action remake. Yes, there did seem to be a lot of overcorrection, which initially I was in favor of. However, it seemed less like what they were doing was fixing problems that I had with the movie, and more like fixing problems, failing to fix those problems, and creating a whole bunch of new problems.
Yeah.
I mean, they address several points that I'm going to address in this episode. They do it in a rather slapdash way that just ends up creating more plot holes, more problems. And I will be doing a bit of comparing and contrasting with the original, not the original Disney version. As we all know, Disney likes to leech ideas off of other people, and this is no exception, but also the live action remake. So I'll be comparing their choices and the things they change with my choices and the thing I change. All the while, you, Jillian, are going to be there pointing out every mistake I make, even though you're wrong!
Well, no, I will say that Beauty and the Beast, the Disney version is not the only successful version of this story. Like, there are other versions of this story that I do enjoy. One of them being the 1946 version, another one being, I think it's just called Beauty by Robin McKinley. It's a book. I love that version as well. So there are other versions.
And who could forget that classic, more recent update, the modern update, featuring Alex Pettyfer and Vanessa Hudgens?
Yeah, well... Yeah, no,
except for everyone. Yeah. Everyone forgot that. And on that subject, I want to point out, I watched the original, it was the 1946 version. That was in the original French, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I watched that, and I found it a very fascinating movie. Although it and I didn't get off into the best start, because I saw the scene where the Beast, as it were, first reveals himself, and the makeup that they used and the prosthetics that they used in 1946 for the Beast look very good. I want to point out. They look really, really good. But his entrance is like, he just sort of pops up from behind a statue and then says, Allah! And it's just, I just laughed. I couldn't take him seriously after that. And so it wasn't the best start, but I have to say that movie is fucking beautiful and amazing and artistic in a really, I think, clever and classy way, as opposed to artistic by today's standards, which is like, do whatever the hell you like and say it's artistic so people have to love you.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, you're absolutely right. There are other great versions. We're not going to talk about them. We're just going to talk about these two versions.
So, but my point was that, so your rewrite could still be a good version, but that will not change my opinion of the animated version, is what I was getting at.
Possibly, even though I am going to maybe a few direct references. But you know what? We'll see how we go. I mean, have I ever changed your mind about something before on this show?
Not that I remember. I mean, we both hated Star Wars, so... Really...
That's a good point. Oh, that's a good point. We've always sort of started off on the same sort of level, and now, because do you like the original Disney Beauty and the Beast?
Oh yeah, I love it. It's one of my favorite films of all time. That's why I wanted to do this one.
Shit!
I've seen this movie so many times.
Oh God!
And
Well,
I've analyzed it so many times, so I'm ready. I
well, then
came
you're going
prepared.
to love how I start the movie.
I kind of listened to the other Dirty Dozen where you're like, yeah, the beginning's fine. So I'm like, okay, we'll get past that point.
Well, I mean, in the course of reanalyzing the movie for this specific episode, I realized something.
Okay.
Oh God, I'm gonna lose you right at the beginning, aren't I? I'm getting rid of the stained glass window opening.
Yeah, you lost me. We're done. End of episode.
I have reasons!
Okay.
Okay, so here's the thing. I mentioned before the animation in this movie is beautiful. And it
Yes.
is. The animation, the musical, working together in concert, absolutely friggin' phenomenal. It really, really is. Forget, for the time, even by today's standards, it's fucking beautiful. It is. And the stained glass window exposition opening is no exception. It's beautiful, and it's David Ogden Stiers actually playing a double role as Codsworth and the narrator, although the narrator doesn't pop up again, ever, so... And in this opening bit, and it's really beautiful and enchanting and mystical, and it's just basically a very pretty exposition dump.
Yeah.
That's all it is. And don't get me wrong, I'd rather have a pretty exposition dump to a ugly exposition dump. I don't know what that would look like.
The live action version.
The live action version. Yeah, very good point. Yeah. But I just think that here's the thing. I wouldn't mind so much if it weren't for the fact that all the information he gives us, this narrator gives us in the beginning, gets re-explained to us as the movie goes on.
Yeah.
We're getting the information twice. We only need it once. So let's get rid of that opening and just have it be a natural explanation as the movie slowly goes on. So we, the audience, learn what's going on as Belle does, perhaps.
Yeah, that's fair.
Oh, all right then. It's almost like I've given this a degree of thought. And perhaps instead of that opening, we get a more vague opening. Like maybe we still see the castle. And maybe we see a weary traveler walking by it, and he's like, ooh, who lives here, I wonder? Then he hears a distant roar in the background. He's like, oh, I'm not going in there, and runs off in fear. And then we get title card, Beauty and the Beast, blah, 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 blah. We don't have to have that, but, that's another option. Although one thing I do want to point out is, in the original opening, we see the Beast. Before we even see Belle, we see the Beast. I want to make this as crystal clear as possible. We're not going to see the Beast! We might see his shadow, we might see his silhouette, but there is no detail. We can't make out any facial features, we can't make out any fur. It's just one big, completely pitch black mass. And because, God, if there's one thing that annoys me about the movie, and there are many things that annoy me about the movie, this is one of those things. They kind of do this big reveal of the Beast after clearly showing him like half a dozen times.
Yeah.
So let's actually keep what he looks like a mystery, So we don't see the Beast. And then title card, as I said, little town full of little people. I don't remember.
It's a little town, it's a quiet village every day like the one before. But continue.
Clearly you've taken the words to heart. Remember that song? The Bonjour song, the Belle song, whatever you want to call it?
Yeah.
That is going to say pretty much the same.
Okay. It's a great song. Great number.
It is a great song. It's a great opening number, and it's great for establishing the character of Belle. She's quirky, she's kind, she's well-read, and she doesn't really fit in with the village life. These are all useful information bits that we need to know. Great, and the song's a great way to convey them. It's a great song. There are some tweaks I'm going to mention. Remember that bit where Belle starts talking to the baker and says, oh, I just finished reading this wonderful book about an enchanted castle and shit.
It's a beanstalk and an ogre, and
Yeah, okay. Clearly I didn't need to watch the movie. I could have just asked you what happened.
Yeah, exactly. You could have.
Anyway, and he says, that's nice. Marie, the baguettes. I don't know. Is that right? Did I get that line right?
Yeah, hurry up. Yep, you're good. You got it.
Okay, then. And then she sort of like rolls her eyes and walk away. In my version, what she's actually going to do is she's going to look a bit disappointed. Not like crushed or anything, just a little tiny bit disappointed. Use that full expressive Disney animation showed that she's a little bit disappointed because she was about to talk to someone about this book she really likes, but they clearly don't give a shit. And she's clearly used to this emotion, but I want to sell right now Belle's loneliness. I want to say how much she loves books, how much she is lonely. That's what I want to push with this song. To further push that, remember that oh god. Oh, so you remember the bit where she returns the book to the bookshop / library, even though it doesn't make sense for it to be a bookshop or a library in this poor provincial town?
Yeah.
Do I need to explain why that's stupid again?
No.
Good. Refer to a previous episode, capers, on my rant on the absurdity of that existing. That's not there. We're just going because then it's kind of like the person who owns the bookshop, who never appears again in the movie, by the way, is sort of a kind of a kindred spirit because they've got books and she likes books. So it's connection.
Yeah, and I remember in the Dirty Dozen episode you mentioned on how, because she sings later, she wants someone who understands. My interpretation of that is that she wants someone who's more close to her own age that understands. Like, she doesn't want to always hang out with, like, older people.
There's a ton of people that look to be her age in the village.
Yeah,
and
but the people,
let's be honest, it's
age, but the people her age in the village don't understand her. That's the point, is that she wants someone her age that understands her. And
that's one interpretation, but you'll have to admit, it's a little vague.
Yeah, I mean, but again, I don't need everything spoon-fed to me, so I don't know.
We don't need it spoon-fed, but we do need to have something that just does... A good exposition and good character development doesn't invite further questions. And yes, we could throw everything at you and then you wouldn't have any questions, but that's not very natural. So what we want to do is create a scenario where not a lot of questions need to be asked, rather than create a scenario where questions have to be asked and then we answer them, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
And one big change that we are going to make, it's not a big change to the song, but it's a big change to a character, Gaston.
Yep.
What's your impression of Gaston in the original?
I think it's better if you just explain your thought process, and then I'll explain my counter argument to what I know you're gonna say.
So here's the thing. Gaston in the movie, clearly what they were going for is, here's a guy who's the archetypical Disney hero, but actually he's the bad guy. This is a brilliant fucking idea. I love this. This is cool. This is interesting. This is Disney sort of, not necessarily mocking, but satirizing themselves. This is really interesting. The problem is that he's a complete and utter bastard right from the beginning, and at the end of the movie, he's still a bastard, just a tiny bit more of a bastard. There's not a lot of character development there. And you might argue, he's the villain, he doesn't need character development. Yeah, but if you're going to come up with a creative idea for this character, you might as well give him a bit of development. And let's be honest, no one in this village is going to be convinced that Gaston is anything other than a jerk. Like, some of them are probably jerks as well, so he fits in that aspect. But I just feel like there's a better way to go about this. So, in my version, at least at first, Gaston does not appear to be a jerk. He looks, especially with the physicality in the face, he looks much more stereotypically prince-like. I mean, picture the previous Disney princes. He kind of looks like that. I mean, even Gaston's face, you can kind of think, he looks like a bit of a bastard. He's handsome, but he's a bit of a bastard. No. In this one, he looks fresh, clean-cut, typical Disney prince that little girls love so much. Or at least the Disney push on little girls and tell them that they need to love so much. And he doesn't just look the part, he acts the part. He appears to be a genuinely good guy. He doesn't necessarily mistreat LeFou anymore, although LeFou is pretty much intact in the same terms of being the bumbling, hilarious sidekick that we know and love. He appears to be genuinely decent. And, as before, he really loves Belle. Well, he likes Belle and he thinks he loves her, but we're going to get in more into that later. And he similar in the movie, he approaches her and says, "Hi, Belle, how are you today?" And she's like, "Oh, I'm fine, Gaston. Nice to see you again," because in this version, they appear to be friends. However, it becomes clear that despite the fact they're friends, they really don't have that much in common. Again, much like with the original, he's just like, "Oh, you're reading a book again? You do that a lot, don't you?" And she's like, "Yeah, well, I like it. Don't you like to read?" And he's like, "Nah, I'm more of a hunt guy. But you know what? You do you. That's great." Yeah, it's really great that you like reading there, Belle. She's like, "Yeah, it is. Do you have something to tell me? Because you're kind of looking a little antsy there, Gaston." Well, it's just like, we've known each other for a while now, right, Belle? Yeah. There's not a lot of people in this town. Everyone knows everyone. Well, yeah, it's just that, well, I mean, I think we're friends, right? Oh, yeah, we're definitely friends. Yeah, we get on well together. Well, that's the thing. I think I agree. I think we get on well too, and I think that get on really well. And I'm saying I'm very fond of you, Belle. And she's like, "Yes, I'm fond of you too, but we're great friends, you know? Yes, you've said that before. Yes, well, I think that's something that we should stay as, okay?" And he's like, "Yeah, no, absolutely. No, I agree. Yeah, I get it. It's fine. Don't worry about it." "Okay, well, I'll see you later then, Gaston. Bye." "Well, gee, Gaston." I'm doing LeFou now, in case you couldn't tell.
Yeah, no, I got it.
She really rejected you, didn't she?" "Yeah, but don't worry, I haven't given up just yet." Now, can you tell what kind of character this is?
The quote-unquote friend zone man.
Exactly. A quote-unquote nice guy. A friend zone guy. One of those guys that thinks that just because you give a woman the time of day and are vaguely friend with her, somehow you're owed a relationship.
See, and
That kind of bastard.
I think that is a good version of Gaston for today's audience. Like, I kind of thought that they were going to go that route in the live action version, and I thought, oh, that was interesting. We might actually get something different. But
they fucked that up, though.
Yeah, no, they fucked it up. But my point is that I think that's good for today's audience. Like, if you were to do a retelling today, that would be good. I don't have a problem with the way Gaston is set up in the 1991 version because, first of all, we have, like, I just feel like it's good to have, like, their little girl's first exposure to seeing a complete and total asshole. Like, this is just, like, an all-around jerk. You know exactly who the type of person that he is. You don't need to give this guy the time of day. This really is, like, one of the first Disney movies that actually gives girls that kind of exposure. And the other thing is, and this is why I actually agree with you on not showing the Beast until later on in the movie, is that Belle is wearing blue, Gaston is wearing red. We see that the guy wearing red is a complete and total jackass. When we first see the Beast, he is also wearing a shade of red. So it makes sense. In my mind, Gaston is also like almost like a setup where the audience is immediately sees the Beast and we think, that guy's an asshole, just like Gaston. So it's almost setting up the audience for failure and to be in the same mindset as Belle when she first meets the Beast, which is why I don't have a problem with him being an asshole in the 1991 version.
That makes a lot of sense, but there's a couple of problems with that. One, that, again, it's incongruous with this original idea of them setting him up as the typical, archetypical Disney hero, when actually he's not. I don't know how big a focus of that was in the production of the movie, but it seems like it was a fairly big focus, at least on that character. And B, you can still have that color symbolism in this version.
I mean, you kind of can, but I feel like it's not super obvious yet to, like, younger audiences that this guy's gonna end up being a jerk.
That's kind of the point. It isn't obvious that he's going to be a jerk. But later on, it will be clear that he was a jerk from the beginning. Because think about that. Kids will pick up on this. They'll see that, oh, she let him down, and then he just kind of ignored her wishes. And whilst they may not think, oh, that's what he did, that is something that kids can easily internalize and accept.
Yeah, no, I agree.
And one last thing I want to say about Gaston is what was it I was going to say? Ah, it doesn't matter. And so, much like in the original, Belle goes home to her father. Bonjour, bonjour, bonjour. And he's an inventor, all that stuff. That's the same. And so he makes an invention, a wood chopping invention. It works. He's going to sell it off to in a market. And here's the thing. This is something that oh no, I know I was going to remember. I want to talk about. I want to talk about Gaston briefly in the live action version
Yeah, okay.
and how much they fucked him over. Because here's the thing. I get you're right. There was kind of what they were trying to do in the live action version, making him appear nice at first, but then having him be a bastard later on. But what they actually did was make Belle actually kind of seem like a bit of an overreacting person. Like, he says he likes her, and she kind of screams in his face, "I will never marry you," even though he didn't ask her to marry him.
Yeah.
And it also they put in this whole thing about him like being a PTSD sufferer
Yeah.
from being in the war.
Yeah.
That just makes me uncomfortable.
Yeah, no, I mean, the execution was definitely bad. I feel like they had an idea that kind of would have worked in the sense that at one point after she talks to Gaston, she says something like, people can't change so quickly. I'm like, okay, theme stated. Got it. That's where you're going with this. She's gonna not learn from Gaston, but she's gonna learn from the Beast that people can change. But then they just, like, did this whole weird thing, like you said, where she just, like, overreacts, and then Gaston actually is an asshole, but he's like an asshole. He goes from like, I'm trying to be a nice guy to I'm a murderer, and it's just like it doesn't make any sense.
So what you like about the original, he was a bastard from start to finish, and there was very little change. In the live-action remake, there was such dramatic change, it kind of made
Yeah.
a head swivel. And even when he does get rejected by her, when she screams in his face that she wasn't going to marry him, he kind of takes it in stride. It's like, oh, easy come, easy go. I mean, we know he doesn't really think that, but he keeps his cool. But anyway, so back with Belle and her father, Maurice. He's about to go off. And one thing I wanted to keep from both the original story and the live action remake, something they did actually include, is Belle asking her dad for a rose.
Yeah.
Because I think that's a big part of the storyline of the original story, and I just thought, I mean, they don't have to keep it, it's not essential, but I am going to tie into it later, so I'm just keeping that for the moment. Same sequence as before, father goes to market, gets easily lost because he's an idiot who doesn't trust his horse, although maybe if he did trust his horse, I'd still think he was an idiot. Maybe, you're riding the horse, you tell the horse where to go, not the other way around. Unless, the horse where you want to go is stupid. But anyway, so he ends up at the castle, and in the original, the Disney version, all the staff of the castle that are now not so inanimate objects immediately welcome him, and with the exception of Codsworth, right?
Yes.
Here, though, we don't see them at all. We hear their voices, but we don't see them. And it's like, hello, is anyone there? Ah, hello, monsieur. Won't you please shut up, you idiot? He can't see us. Oh, there's no one here. Go away. Sorry, I'm just a little bit lost. Is there anywhere I could possibly get some directions? No, I'm afraid you're going to have to leave now. Well, he doesn't have to leave, does he? Yes, he does. Shut up. And so we don't see them or the beast, and he gets a bit turned around somehow. I'm not quite sure how he do this, but he does. Maybe Lumiere eggs him on or something. And Maurice ends up in the West Wing. Okay?
Yes.
Then, yeah. And so he sees a rose. It's like, oh, a rose. Belle wanted a rose, and it's a glowing, sparkly rose, and I'm stupid, so maybe I should touch it. And that's when the beast catches him. Here's the thing. In the Disney version, beasts... I mean, we get it. Beast's supposed to be socially awkward, full of rage. I kind of feel like he'd just want the guy to get out of his house, though, rather than locking him up. Like, what does that get you, Beast, huh? What does that get you? Nothing. Here, though, he's actually has a reason. He feels like he has been wronged somehow because he touched the rose.
Right.
And that is what happened in the original. He took a rose, admittedly from the garden, not from a big glass bell jar that was glowing, and the Beast locked him up for it. So, that worked then, it works now.
Yeah, no, that's fine.
And, meanwhile, while that's going on, Belle's at home, Gaston approaches, and the whole thing with the wedding outside, that's still there. I was going to write that out, but then I thought, here's what, nice guy friend zone fuckboys do. They think that big, grand romantic gestures are guaranteed to make a girl want to be with them, even though it's a very pressurizing kind of a dick move to do with someone you're not actually romantically involved with.
Yes.
Yeah. And so that stays because, ew. And so he approaches in the home, same as before, except he's a bit more courteous and not, as pushy. Still a little bit pushy because this is Gaston, let's not forget. And he basically says, look, Belle, I didn't just say it before when I said I was fond of you. Perhaps I wasn't clear. The truth is, I love you. I've loved you for years, and I feel like we are meant to be together. And I was like, Gaston, I really care about you too, as a friend, like I said before, but, I mean, why do you love me, really? And he says, well, just look at you. You're the most beautiful girl in the world. From the moment I first met you, my heart went flutter. I just know that it is our destiny to be together. And, he's not saying it in a douchey, condescending, swaggering way. He's saying it, as someone who truly believes it, even though it's bullshit. But I was just like, yeah, no, I'm sorry, Gaston, but it's not going to happen. I care about you. I think you're a good person, but I am not interested. So when she first rejected him, she was kind and gentle and just gave him hints. Now she's full of stating, it ain't gonna happen, buddy, but she's still being relatively nice about it. He, however, does not take her at her word. He says, what do I have to do to convince you? I'll do anything. I would hunt the wildest stag. I would climb the tallest mountain. I would do anything. And Belle's just like, I don't want you to do anything. I'm sorry. We don't have anything in common. It wouldn't work. I'm going to have to ask you to leave now. And he's like, what? All right then. All right. And he leaves. And at first he seems really sad and despondent. And as he walks away, brushing off LeFou and telling everyone at the wedding party to go home, he becomes more and more angry. His expression of sadness turns to one of bitterness and then one of slight smouldering rage. Because this is what incels do.
Yeah, no, that sounds fine.
And Belle does a usual bonjour song reprise, however you say it. Same as before, a horse comes up, and apparently it's a homing horse, so it takes her to the castle. And she goes in, and again we hear, Lumiere, Cogsworth, and all the rest whispering to each other, but we still don't see them. And eventually she finds a way to the dungeon, possibly being led on by Lumiere's light. Because it's like, what are you doing? Shut up, I've got a plan. And she sees her father, same scene as before, and the Beast arrives, but again, still in shadow. We don't see any distinguishing features of the Beast beyond a mere silhouette. And then the same thing happens. Belle's just like, okay, take me in his place. And he's like, well, if you do, you'll have to stay here forever. And she's like, come into the light. And that's when we see him for the first time. An actual proper dramatic reveal.
Yeah, no, that sounds fine.
Of course it sounds fine. Maybe.
Look, your version sounds, it's like I said at the beginning, it sounds good. It's fine. I'm just saying, but it doesn't change the fact that the original is still good.
Yeah, the original is good, but there's so many parts that I'm fixing. I'm helping.
Yeah, but, the Gaston thing is subjective. I still don't have a problem with him being a douche from the beginning, but I like also a version where he's, the stereotypical nice guy in disguise kind of thing. I like both versions.
Okay, well, there's bits coming up later that, are slightly less up to interpretation, yeah. And here's the thing. When the Beast suggests that Belle stay there forever, Lumiere and possibly Cogsworth and Mrs. Potts try to intervene. They're like, what are you doing? She can't be a prisoner. And he's like, shut up. And they're like, ah. But we still don't see them. And then we get the proper beast reveal, and Belle just like, all right, fine, you have my word. Father sent away, she cries, and he's just like, oh, and now we see the beast proper. Now we always see the beast. And so we get the same sequence where he takes her to the room along with the objects, and now we properly see them for the first time. So pretty much the same sequence of events, except when Belle asks about the West Wing, the beast says that her father was in prison because he went there, so she better not go in there. Because when he yells, it's forbidden, like, you really don't want to go into any details? Why is it forbidden, This way it's still a bit ambiguous, but he's not been an idiot. Because the beast had a temper in the original, but he wasn't stupid, Or at least he shouldn't have been stupid.
I mean, him saying it's forbidden is not really an issue. Like, she just shouldn't go there. He said don't go there. Like...
Yeah, but he doesn't offer why, and that's just going to make her all the more curious.
Yeah, but he shouldn't, in his mind, he shouldn't need to say why. Like, I told you not to go there. Like...
So let's include the arrogance, but with more details.
Okay.
And so, puts on the room, you will join me for dinner. That's not a request. And... yeah, I know. I can quote this movie too. And Belle, oh god, it's so annoying. In the original, Belle just sort of cries and slumps on the bed. Here, as soon as the door is closed, she runs to the window, clearly trying to find some way to climb down, but sees how sheer the tower is and how it's just impossible to climb down. And so then we get that pan-out shot with her by the window, lamenting her fate. And sort of magnifying this idea of being isolated and trapped.
Right. I will say in the Broadway version, at this point, she gets her own song, which is a little bit better than just crying on the bed. She gets the song Home, which is really nice. And it's basically her like saying like, this is where I'm staying, but this isn't my actual home, and I'll stay here as long as I have to, kind of thing, but it'll never be the same as where my heart is, which is at home with her dad, kind of thing. So...
well, see, that sounds lovely, but unfortunately it doesn't count, because I haven't seen the musical.
I know it doesn't count.
Yeah. And that would have been a nice thing, but anyway. So... after we leave, however, we don't immediately cut back to the village. We cut to the beast walking along the corridors of the castle with Lumiere in hand. Lumiere asks the beast, why did you do this? Why did you imprison this girl? And the beast says, do I need to remind you of the curse? Lumiere's like, no, obviously not, but you're never gonna break it now that she's a... what accent am I doing?
I don't know, but just, it's...
I can't do French! I'm sorry! It's a stupid accent anyway! They're all French, and yet only one of them is a French accent anyway. So, forget it. Fuck it. Anyway, Lumiere points out that, she'll never break the curse now that she's a prisoner. But then he says, well, what choice did I have? She'd have never stayed otherwise. And he sort of leaves Lumiere behind, skulking off. And Lumiere's just like, okay, guys, we've got our work cut out for us. And so that's an pure addition. It's not an alteration. That's an addition. That's not in the original. Tell me I'm wrong.
No, that's right. It's not. It's an addition.
Damn right. And then we cut to Gaston, and in the tavern, whatever, that whole Gaston song sequence, except Gaston appears slightly less conceited. Like, he's clearly arrogant, but he's not so obviously arrogant. Although the cracks are starting to show. He's clearly stewing and steaming, just like, I don't get it. I told her I loved her. I told her all the reasons why I love her. I had a big romantic gesture planned. Why didn't she? I don't get it. I don't get it. And LeFou's like, woman, maybe you should try something else. I don't know. Maybe the person you've always wanted could be standing right in front of you. Oh, wait, that's my fanfic. Sorry. Then Maurice bursts in and just like, help, help, Belle's been kidnapped. And Gaston's like, oh, Belle's been kidnapped? Really? Oh my god, I'm actually quite concerned about that. By a horrific beast. Okay, I'm slightly less concerned, but I have questions. Like, okay, Maurice, what happened? Well, I got imprisoned by this beast, this huge beast in a castle. Okay. And then Belle came to rescue me, but she switched places with me, and now she's stuck there. Maurice, you do know there isn't a castle anywhere near here, you know? That, like, there hasn't been a castle around here in hundreds and hundreds of years. Maurice is like, I know, I don't understand it either, but that's where she is. And Gaston's like, well, okay, look, I'm not sure about this whole beast business, but you're saying that Belle's been kidnapped? Yes! Well, alright. I'll help you out, Maurice, no worries. I mean, Belle's a friend of mine, and I'm sure you'll tell her all about how I helped you get her back. Oh, yes, of course. That's great. Let's go and get her then, shall we? Clearly implying he just wants Maurice to put a good word in with him for Belle, not doing it out of any altruistic reasons.
Right.
And then we cut back to the castle. We're pretty much going to be switching between village and castle at this point, much like the original, where she meets the servants of the castle in inanimate form for the very first time. However, unlike in the original, where she accepts the fact that there are walking, talking teacups all of a sudden, in this version, she asks friggin' questions. Who are you? How did you come to be like this? Have you always been like this? I have questions because in the original movie, this isn't me, the original movie established her as a well-read, curious intellectual. So she's gonna have questions. She's not just gonna accept this. And here's the thing. We don't have to answer these questions. I mean, maybe the answer if you go, oh, we've been like this for years, and yes, we were once human, but you see, and then Cogsworth sort of cuts them off, just like, nope, ixnay on the Ursk, just like, none of that. None of that. It's like, you don't need to know about that. And what about him? Who? The Beast. Oh, the Master. Yes, well, very much the same. We've been like this for years. I wouldn't worry about it. And we are very, very sorry that this has happened to you. You understand? We tried to warn off your father. We were afraid that something like this would happen. But c'est la vie. So, will you be coming down for dinner then? And then we get the same scene with the Beast being told the Bells are coming down for dinner, which is, I'm willing to admit, fucking hilarious.
Yeah,
like
great scene.
There are a lot of funny scenes, mostly with Cogsworth. I like them. They're going to say the same. And so the Beast goes up and just like, well, are you going to come down for dinner? She's like, nope. If she will not eat with me, then she does not eat at all. While that's going on, Maurice leads Gaston and LeFou to the castle, but they get a little bit lost and then get chased by wolves. And maybe we can have a comedic chase scene with the wolves trying to eat LeFou or something, for kids. They end up back at the village, and Gaston says, all right, Maurice, look, we didn't get to the castle that I'm not entirely sure exists yet, but, the wolves are going to move on at some point. This is part of their natural migration. So in a few weeks or maybe even months, we'll be able to get past them and we'll find Belle. And Maurice is like, oh, thank you, Gaston. I don't know what I would do without you. And once Maurice has turned his back, Gaston pulls LeFou aside and says, okay, LeFou, we've got to come up with something. Wow, what do you mean? She's kidnapped, right? Yes, possibly. All I know is she's not here at the house. No one else has seen where she's gone. It's possible she has really been kidnapped. Possibly not. In which case, the old man's starting to go a little bit, cuckoo. He's turning into a clock? No, he's going insane. Which means we might have to resort to Plan B. And so we're starting to see a bit more of a progression where Gaston is concerned, becoming increasingly more and more of a dickbag.
Right.
Back to the castle. God, it was exhausting just pinging between these two locations. Jeez. Belle sneaks out of the room, same as before, getting past Lumiere. Maybe don't have that scene of Lumiere fucking the feather duster behind the curtain. Maybe no. How would that even work?
I mean, I don't know, but it's just to show that he's distracted and not actually doing his job.
Maybe he could just be flirting with her instead of, rehearsing a scene from a low behind the curtain. But anyway, so he, Cogsworth, and the rest of the staff catch up with her, and they're just like, hey, so sorry about the whole dinner thing. Maybe we should feed her. And Cogsworth's like, no, absolutely not. Well, fine then. Glass of water, crust of bread, that's it. But eventually they go into the whole be our guest scene. Here's the thing, though. Be our guest. Do you like Be Our Guest?
Yeah, it's a great number.
Yeah, it is, except there's one small problem with it.
What is the small problem?
It's fucking pointless.
Sure.
I mean, no, really, it's fucking pointless. Like, okay, so there's no character development, not really. Nothing that isn't explained before or after. There's no plot advancement, and it's sort of just one self-contained number that's just about feeding this girl, and she doesn't even fucking eat anything. She just tries a bit of the grey stuff. Apparently it's delicious, although it's French cuisine and grey, so I don't know how delicious it could be. So what's even the point? So here, it's essentially the same song, but we're going to change a few of the lyrics, which I'm not going to do because I fucking give me a break. It's interspersed with hints to the fact that they're cursed. Not incredibly obvious hints. It's more like Codsworth, like, shush, don't mention the curse.
But the original does have hints that they're cursed. Lumiere does that whole monologue where he's like, 10 years we've been resting, needing so much more than dusting, and exercise a chance to use our skill. Most days we just lay around the castle. Something flabby, fat, and lazy, you walked in an upsy daisy. So, like, they do acknowledge the curse in that song.
Kind of, but I'm looking to make it a bit more overt than that and have it be done more than once. And also, this brings up the classic thing that they tried to point out in the remake. So they establish in the opening narration that the prince needs to break the curse by his 21st birthday. The lyrics of this song say that they've been around for 10 years, which means this prince got cursed when he was 11.
Yeah.
Which is, like, you don't curse an 11-year-old.
Well, again, that's one of the reasons why I like the original, is that it does leave room for interpretation. Like,
there's no room for interpretation. According to the chronology, the movie sets out he got cursed when he was 11.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is the interpretation is, do you view the Enchantress as an actual, like, good figure, or was she just, like, a bitch, and she just turned an 11-year-old into... and he never should have been cursed in the first place?
But that... I mean, it kind of diminishes the whole he needs to learn a lesson aspect.
It does, but in a sense, he has already lost, at this point when the movie starts, he has already lost his humanity so much that he kind of does need to learn a lesson, because, like, he's already lost his humanity. Like,
but he never would have lost his humanity if someone didn't try and teach him a lesson that you shouldn't really need to teach an 11-year-old with a curse, at least.
Exactly, and that's, like, kind of the thing, is, like, I see Beauty and the Beast not so much as the Beast needed to learn a lesson, but more so it's about a person who has lost their humanity and how they regain it.
I think you can do both, though.
You can. The other thing, too, I also really like the theory about the Enchantress being his fairy godmother, and, like, she purposely put a curse on him because she could see that he was going to become a little shithead, and so she, like, kind of devised this whole thing from the beginning, that, like, it was a lesson that needed to be learned.
That's an interesting theory, but it's not in the original or even the live-action remake, really, and I see no reason to put it here. Let's just keep things simple and not bring up weird chronology-based questions.
But that's what I'm saying. Like, that's why I like how it's not... I like how there's things that don't fully line up with the story of the stained glass mirror, because then it makes you think, like, did he need to be cursed from the beginning? Did he deserve it? Like,
that's interesting, because you view that as interesting questions about the movie. I see it as poor writing.
Oh no, I see it as, like, you know, they thought it. I see it as, like, interpretation kind of thing, not so much as it's bad writing.
Well, I think ultimately that whole thing is distracting. I mean, look at us. We've been talking about this for way longer than we really should have been. And so it's just easier just to get rid of it and focus on what actually matters, these characters and their journey.
Yeah, sure. I mean, again, my thing is like, you know, the 2017 version showed that if you try to over explain everything, it's like it just causes problems, because the 2017 version tried to explain this whole thing by making the enchantress like in on the whole thing. She sets Belle up with the beast, like it just becomes a whole mess.
Yeah, and it's simpler to get rid. And here's the thing: there's a difference between a bad movie and a simple movie. A bad movie doesn't have any depth. It doesn't have any complexity. It doesn't have any levels. A simple movie can have depth and can have complexity. It's just not so wrapped up in its complexity that it's distracting for the audience.
Yeah, I think also the whole idea of like the 10 years while he was 11 kind of thing, I think that also has people honing in on it when the whole story isn't working for them, because it's sort of like the question of, well, where did Edward Scissorhands get the ice to make the ice sculptures? It's like I don't give a shit where he got the ice to make the ice sculptures. I'm talking about.
Oh my fucking god! I never even considered that until you said it. No,
exactly,
I like that movie. Fuck you, Jillian.
But that's my point. Is that to me, certain details just mean that the story as a whole isn't working for you. And it's not really about the nitpicky stuff. It's more about the story as a whole isn't working for you, so you are able to zone in on these nitpicky things. Like I said, I love Edward Scissorhands. I don't give a shit where he got the ice from. But other people who like watch the movie and don't like it, they're gonna say, well, where'd he get the ice from? Because there's something else about the movie that they don't like.
But here's the thing, that Edward Scissorhands is a movie about Vincent Price creating Johnny Depp with scissors for hands, so maybe we shouldn't be looking at it too deeply. Like, how would that even work?
This is a story about talking fucking teacups. What the?
Yeah, but here's the thing, that the question of the whole circumstances of the curse are tied into the whole fucking teacupness of it all. We have talked far too long about this. I want to move on. Okay, and at the end of the movie, Belle's like, "Well, wow, that was brilliant, but you know, I'm not actually a guest, right? I'm a prisoner. Like, I appreciate you guys trying to make me feel welcome, but I can't leave." And they're like, "We know, and we are sorry about that. It was very wrong of him to do that to you. Hey, here's an idea. I know it's not going to make everything better, but why didn't we offer you a tour? If you're going to stay here, you might as well get to know the place." And she's like, "Yeah, okay, why not? Got to do something." They go through the castle as before, but here's something different. As they go through, she sees several paintings that allude to how the prince was cursed. Because don't forget, we've gotten rid of that stained glass opening. So we don't know the exact circumstances yet. So maybe we see a painting of, you know, the prince as he was, and then at least an artistic interpretation of the prince. Or hell, maybe they could actually be stained glass windows. Like, everything else looks pretty fucking creepy, but then she sees these stained glass windows just depicting this scene, much like they were in the original. And she's like, "Oh, what's going on there? Oh, let's move on." And because, you know, Cogsworth and Lumiere wanted to move on because for some reason, it's clear they don't want her to know that everything's cursed. It's clear that everything is enchanted, but they don't want her to know the circumstances of a curse. And then they mentioned, "Oh, we've got a library." "You have a library? Books are my jam!" And they're like, "Yes, lots of books everywhere. Let's go away from the stained glass windows." Ha ha. And she goes on and sees, "Oh, the West Wing." Maybe she wonders aloud to herself, "Okay, what's in there that got my father imprisoned?" And here's the thing, in the original, it kind of seems like she's just curious for the sake of being curious. Here, she's actually got a motivation for going to the West Wing, finding out what exactly is so important that's in there that would get her father imprisoned. It's the whole reason why she's there in the first place. It's tied into her.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't have a problem with her going there without a motivation.
It's just my goal in this movie is to give Belle as much of her lost agency back as I can. Because it kind of, like, in the first act, she has tons of agency, and then it just sort of withers away for reasons, which I'll get into later. And so I wanted to give as many opportunities to give them that back to her. But nevertheless, the sequence goes pretty much the same. She goes through the room, everything's all broken and twisted, and clearly the beast has gone berserk in there. And that whole painting of him that looks a lot more, should we say, realistic, like painting realistic. I was about to say photorealistic, but painting realistic. But it's all been, then the stained glass windows, but it's all been shredded and slashed and stuff. And then she sees the rose. She's like, a rose? That's what my father wanted. And then she's about to touch it, and then the beast comes back, and he's like, get out! She runs out. Fucking wolves. Wolves about to kill her. Beast comes, stack the wolves, fights wolves. He collapses. She drags him back somehow. Like, oh, using the horse. Using the horse, right.
Yeah.
I just have an image of, like, Paige O'Hara making grunting noises in the recording booth as she imagines Belle's fucking shouldering the beast back to the castle.
Well, they also conveniently never show how she gets him on the horse, but, you know.
I don't know. And so then we come back to the castle, Beast is back awake and she's tending to his wounds. And it goes pretty much the same, the back and forth, like, you shouldn't have run, you shouldn't have yelled at me, you shouldn't have imprisoned me, blah, 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 back and forth. However, she says, by the way, thank you for saving my life. And he goes, you're welcome. And that's how the scene originally ended. Not in my version, we're going to keep going. He tells her, like, look, I'm sorry for putting you in this situation, and I was wrong. So, if you want, you can leave. It's fine. Your father is free. You're free. Just go, okay? And she's like, all right. Are you gonna be okay? I'll be fine. All right. And she goes, and she's about to leave. She looks back and sees the beast sort of hunched over in the chair, looking sad. And she sort of stops and she thinks, there are still wolves out there, aren't there? It's like, oh, yes, there probably are. But I mean, they'll move on soon. This is part of their natural migratory pattern, whatever. So, they'll be gone soon. And then you can leave. She's like, all right, you know what? I will. I am going to stay here until they leave. And, however, I have conditions. He's like, okay, you're in no position. I have conditions. Okay. 1, I can leave at any time. Wolves or no wolves. It's like, okay. 2, you gotta be nicer to me. And these guys. Yeah, the clock person, the lamp person, the teapot, all those. What was that?
A car.
Okay, phew. I thought the aliens, they've arrived. Okay, so you gotta be nice to them. Okay. And 3, I'm gonna write my father a letter telling him that I'm okay, alright? And that I'm gonna be home soon, and it's fine, and he doesn't need to worry about me, and that you're gonna make sure it gets to him, okay? He's like, okay, fine. Alright. And on the last condition, this is the big one, okay? Okay. What's your name? My name? Well, I can't keep calling you Beast or something. Come on, what's your name? Now, in various miscellaneous Beauty and the Beast paraphernalia, his name is given as Adam, so I'm just going to call him Adam.
Yeah, that's fine.
And he's like, it's Adam. Nice to meet you, Adam. I'm Belle. Hello, Belle. And boom, I've solved 40% of all the problems in the movie, possibly even 60%.
I mean, what problems are you trying to solve besides the name thing and, like, letting her leave and stuff?
Well, that's just it, the Stockholm Syndrome.
Okay, but Belle doesn't have Stockholm Syndrome. She never did.
Doesn't she?
No.
Okay, well, let's say she didn't. Let's say she doesn't have Stockholm Syndrome, as in the clinical, pathological idea that a person comes to identify with their captors. Let's say she doesn't have that. These two are going to fall in love. They're gonna get together, they're gonna have a relationship. And that relationship is going to start with her being completely captive to him for her stay there. No, we're not gonna do that. We're gonna have them get to know each other and slowly fall in love while she has agency and is allowed to leave. Because let's not forget, she has a reason to stay aside from the wolves. I want adventure in the great wide somewhere. I want it more than I can tell. This is her adventure. And slowly but surely, she comes to realize that, oh, not only is this her adventure, she's finally found someone who understands.
Yeah.
So, boom, there. It's a huge problem in the original movie. It really, really is, because these two slowly form a connection while she is not allowed to leave. And that, at its very core, is unhealthy. It really, really is. Unless you're under quarantine, you should be allowed to leave a person's place.
Yes, but I'm trying to think of how to phrase what I want to say.
Maybe that's because you haven't got a leg to stand on and you know I'm right?
No. I mean, the thing is like, I feel like in that scene where it cuts off originally, they sort of address a lot of the issues that you added into the story, minus the whole she can't leave thing. But I've always
that's the big thing! That's the huge thing!
But,
it's like, okay, so we've gotten rid of most of your ailments except for the brain tumor, but you're fine with that, right?
But the thing is like, I've always interpreted as after that moment, they developed an understanding with each other where she doesn't feel the need to leave. Like,
and that's all well and good, but that just kind of reinforces the whole Stockholm Syndrome thing.
No, it doesn't, because Stockholm Syndrome is when the captor basically makes the person who's being captured feel as though going outside of the castle would be, the world is like a scary place, you can't trust anybody except for me. That's Stockholm Syndrome. So basically, like, Quasimodo in Hunchback of Notre Dame, that's Stockholm Syndrome. Rapunzel in Tangled, that's Stockholm Syndrome. This isn't really Stockholm Syndrome. This is more of, hey, I ran away, got attacked by wolves. This guy who I thought was an asshole actually, like, came out to save me, brought me back to the castle. So maybe he's actually not as bad of a guy as I thought. And maybe if I get to know him a little bit better, he, like, won't be a jerk. I mean, if I still leave, like I feel like she feels like at that point, if she really wanted to leave, she probably could. But like,
she doesn't say. And here's the thing: he is basically saying, "I want her to fall in love with me," whilst in his mind, she's not allowed to leave. He doesn't say she can leave until much, much later in the movie. It's
right, and that's part of his character growth, is that he needs to learn that in order to love someone, you have to be able to let them go, even if they don't love you back. It's I want
you to remember that, because I want to come back to that later. But here's the thing. Shouldn't the decision as to whether or not she can leave be part of her character development, part of her agency?
I mean, it kind of depends on how you view the story, I guess, because to me it's just as much the Beast story as it is Belle's story. So it's like, I never had an issue with it. Because
I agree with you. It is as much it's Beauty and the Beast. It's the Beast story as much as Belle's, but that doesn't mean we should take away Belle's agency and independence. Because, I mean, here's the thing. Once Beast says, and don't forget, I've still kept that in, he does say, she can go, but she chooses to stay on her own recognizance. It's her decision, not his, hers. So it's the best of both worlds. It works out well for them. He learns to let her go, but also she chooses to stay. Right. But here's the thing, though. When he initially says you can go, it's done out of despair, out of not so much love, but a unwillingness to believe that anyone can love him. Later on, though, that's gonna change. So, and also, like, now they actually gave him a name. Like, that was weird. Okay?
Yeah, I mean, it kind of was, but at the same time, I never really took an issue with it, because it's sort of like, usually when you talk to someone, you very rarely use their name. So it's like, just like in conversation, like, you don't really think about it type of thing.
He uses her name all the time, though. He's constantly like, Belle, Belle, Belle.
No, I know. I'm saying in like everyday conversation, if you really think about it, like, you very rarely call the other person by their name.
Yes, you do, Jillian.
I mean, I don't. I very rarely say the other person's name, so it's like...
Well, that's because you're American and therefore uncouth.
Okay, well, maybe it's an American thing, so that's why I never thought it was weird.
I don't know. Maybe it's just me. But anyway, so we've given Belle some more agency. We've remove the problem of the kind of sort of not really Stockholm syndrome and things are better. They are.
It's not Stockholm syndrome. I don't know why people keep saying that.
It's Stockholm syndrome adjacent.
People who say it's Stockholm syndrome don't actually know what Stockholm syndrome is.
Okay, well, okay. So it's an entirely healthy idea for a relationship. So let's say if I kidnapped a guy and then his daughter came to rescue him, and then I said, okay, you know what? I'll let your dad go, but in return, you've got to live in my attic. And she says, okay, fine. I'm not happy with that, but okay, fine. And then I say, okay, you know what? You don't have to stay in the attic. You can go anywhere in the house. And then we fell in love. That would be weird.
I mean, the way you're explaining it, yeah, it would be weird.
That's what happens in this movie, just on a bigger scale.
But it's still not Stockholm syndrome, though.
Fine, okay, it's just an incredibly unhealthy start to a relationship. Is that better? Is that better, Jillian?
Sure.
Anyway, Belle writes said letter to her dad and sends it via the carriage thingy. They managed to get past the walls. Maybe there's an extra not-so-inanimate object staff person in there to deliver the letter. It rushes off to the village, managed to sneak in without being seen. Maybe it's a bit of a comedic scene. And it or the object person thing in it leaves the letter without being seen and then run away, only for the letter to be picked up by Gaston. He doesn't see who left it behind, just like, oh, what's this? Dear father, I am fine and well. The beast has said that I can go, but I have chosen to stay. Partially due to the fact that there's fucking wolves, like seriously, so many goddamn wolves, but also because I think he's lonely. Oh my god. She's two-timing me, that hussy! And Maurice is just like, Gaston, is there someone there? He's like, no, tear up letter. So now we've advanced to a next level of douchebaggery with Gaston, hiding mail and being the jealous bitch.
Yeah.
Back at the castle, God. Adam, and I shall refer to him as Adam now throughout, not Beast, because, again, we're going to properly characterize this guy.
Yeah. Okay.
And he watches Belle lead the horse around the snow garden, same as the original, and talks to the Lumiere and stuff. It's just like, whoa, I actually think I might care about her. She seems so interesting. And Mrs. Potter's like, oh, well, that's all right, well and good, dearie, but why? And he says, well, I mean, you saw how she talked to me. No one's ever talked to me like that. Stood up to you mean? Yes. And, well, when the wolves attacked, I mean, she could have left me for dead. She could have just gone home, but she didn't. She helped me. And, I mean, for goodness sake, she cared enough about her father to trade places with her, become a prisoner. I mean, do you know anyone like that? And they're like, no, that's a really special person right there. He's like, yeah, I've got to do something nice for her. And that's when he shows her the library. Here's the thing, though. In this next weekend of events, when he shows her the library, it's like a complete 180 from his character earlier. Before, clearly, they started, working towards a position of self-respect with the ever lingering, you're a prisoner here, hanging over them. But that's gone now. So now, he's very excited to show her the library, but there's still a little bit of awkwardness between them. He doesn't quite know how to. He's like, here, I've wanted to show you something. Well, what is it? It's, this. A library. There's so many books. I don't think I could read all of them in one lifetime. Oh, you like it? I love it. Oh, well, that's great. So it's still a little bit awkward, but it's much better than it was before, which coincidentally leads into the sequence something there that wasn't there before, which is it's a weird sort of disjointed song, but fine, it's there.
Right. I mean, I still think overall you're kind of adding more lines that need to be there, that don't need to be there.
Bear in mind, this is an actual, dialogue lines. This is just me giving a vague overview. I'm not saying this is how we should actually say it in the movie. That would be weird.
Yeah, okay.
Because no, I really think Paige O'Hara should have been like, and then there were fucking wolves everywhere, like so many wolves.
Well,
I'm
that
not.
part I got wasn't what actually was there, but I'm talking about the conversation between Beast and his and like Mrs. Potts and stuff.
No, no. All the lines that I'm sort of saying is just like general vague overviews. Okay, I haven't actually written out a script for this, even though this is called Rescripted. This is a general overview, a treatment, if you will. And then we get so there's different versions of this film. The original version just cut straight to the
Get
old.
out of here! Get Human Again out of here. It was cut for a reason. Don't put it in.
It's a little weird. It's a little, and also in the Human Again thing, there's a bit where Belle reads the Adam, Romeo, and Juliet.
Yeah,
Which is just weird. Why would you read a play to someone? And then he says like he can't read, but he was taught how to read, but he hasn't done it in so long, and it's just like, okay, it's reading, okay? It's not like another skill. You human beings remember how to read, Adam.
right. But remember, he's a beast now, so like it's a part of the whole lost in humanity. This is why I don't have a problem with the beast not having a name, because having a name is like almost kind of symbolic of like he doesn't have a name because he's so lost in his humanity, like he's lost
that works. That works in the original story, in the original fairy tale, but in this 1991 movie where you have a main protagonist who is very well read, very literate, and, curious, you really think that she's going to spend all that time and not ask his fucking name?
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. So we're going to get rid of the Human Again sequence, and we go straight to the Taylor's Oldest Time sequence, even though that song annoys me.
Oh my god.
Okay. So the whole concept of this movie is just like a person who is traditionally beautiful and a person who is not traditionally beautiful getting together is a rare thing, or something that is seen as rare by, hicks in the village and by most people. So them getting together is a big deal. However, the song lyrics say Taylor's Oldest Time, Song as Old as Rhyme, Beauty and the Beast, implying that it's actually quite a common occurrence. So, like, which is it?
No. I interpret the song Beauty and the Beast. It's not, when she says Tale as Old as Time, Song as Old as Rhyme, she's not necessarily talking about the fairy tale Beauty and the Beast. She's talking about the idea of two people falling in love. Like, two people falling in love is common. And this is the story of Beauty and the Beast falling in love.
Okay. You know what? If that's a logic that I can just sort of cling to, I will do, because I will say one thing for this song. Angela Lansbury has the voice of an angel.
I mean, you can, because I'm pretty sure that this is considered canon. That's what the lyrics mean. I've read extensively on Beauty and the Beast, so much so that I don't remember what I came up with while watching the movie several times and what is actually part of the development, but I'm pretty sure that was the intention of the song.
Well, that's less confusing than my interpretation, so you know what? I'll take it. Fine.
Yeah,
that's fine with me.
It's supposed to be about just she.
So,
she's
one other.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, one thing I do want to change, though, is that the kind of, in the Human Again sequence, they kind of scrub at the castle and we remove that. I want to keep the ballroom that they go in sort of slightly, and the castle in general, a bit creepier. Like, there's a lot, like, it's supposed to be a foreboding, enchanted castle, and it doesn't really, once you get in there, it's not that foreboding, it's for small bits of it. So let's just make it a little bit more creepy, but we still have this really nice moment with this song and these characters, and as the song goes on and as they're dancing, and maybe as the connection between them deepens, we see the environment around the ballroom change slightly. Maybe only Lumiere, Mrs. Potts, and Cogsworth notice, and Belle and Adam don't, but maybe the ballroom sort of shimmers slightly and starts to become more lustrous and golden and peaceful as they dance. And just like, maybe there's a natural chance the curse can break. Let's give it a bit of a more visual representation to that.
See, I've actually interpreted the same thing, just like not that it actually changes like in real time, just like as you go through the different scenes, it starts out with very dark lighting and very foreboding, and then as the Belle and the Beast fall in love, it becomes more bright. And as they connect more, it becomes more bright.
But at the end, you still get the big reveal of the castle becoming lovely and beautiful again. So I don't know. I feel like it.
I mean, bright in terms of the lighting, and like it looks like the staff have actually like started cleaning the castle.
That's a good point. In any case, that's just my interpretation. And then we get the same scene with them on the balcony. It's really nice. And Adam shows her the magic mirror. And again, because Belle is curious, she's going to ask questions. What is this? Where did it come from? Is this part of the castle? She says, no, it's a window into a world that I can't be part of because I'm angsty and I shop at Hot Topic. And
yep.
So, because that's kind of what they alluded to in the live action remake, but then they added that book in as well. No,
it's stupid.
So, much like in the original, she asks to see her father, and she sees him not lost in the snow like the original, but at home, clearly immensely sad and heartbroken over losing her. Because don't forget, Maurice hasn't seen the letters telling him that she's fine. So, and she doesn't know that the letter hasn't arrived. She's like, oh my god, he's so sad. I have to go to him. And Beast is like, yes, you're right. Will you come back? Yes, yeah, of course I will. Right, okay. Goodbye. And then she runs off, and the wolves initially appear to approach her, but then Adam roars from the balcony, driving them off, so she gets through and makes her way toward the village. And then the staff, like Lumio and Codsworth and everyone, when they hear the news, in the original they kind of act a bit like selfish dicks. Like they clearly, this is the big problem I have with the movie, they're clearly only concerned with them being human, which I get, I understand, but you being human requires you emotionally manipulating someone else. And what I'm trying to sow throughout this movie is that they're not doing that. They clearly want to be human, but they have taken Belle's feelings into consideration as well.
I mean, I think, though, from their point of view, like, they see it as she has fallen in love with him just, like, naturally. So it's like, they're upset because they were like, oh, fuck, we were so close. Why'd you let her go? They also don't know at that point that the reason why he lets her go is because her dad needs her.
Yeah, and so stuff like that is going to be a bit more obvious. And while that's going on, Belle reunites with Maurice at their home. She's just like, oh, Papa, I'm so glad I saw you. I know you were sad, but I told you not to worry. What? When did you do that? When I sent you the letter. What letter? I never got a letter. You didn't? Well, I've been staying here with Gaston. He's been so supportive, Belle. He really has. Gaston's been here? Oh, yes. Okay, and Belle looks clearly a bit suspicious at this. And much like in the original, Chip is stowed away and asking her questions like, why'd you leave us? I'm so cute, meh. And then Gaston arrives. Chip obviously hides. And it's like, oh, Belle, I'm so happy you're back. If it weren't for those wolves, we would have come and get you and taken you away from that dreaded castle. That is what's happened, right? And she's like, yes. Look, there was a bit of a, yes, I was briefly there, but I left. I'm fine. It's okay. And I did send a letter saying that I was coming back. Did you see a letter, Gaston? And he kind of looks like a guilty child at that point, like caught in a lie. It's like, no, Gaston. Okay, I there was a letter, maybe, and maybe I read it, and maybe I got rid of it. But it was only because I was worried for you, Belle, because you know how I feel about you. And at this point, Belle has had enough. She's done being nice about it. She angrily rejects it. It's like saying, no, Gaston, I don't love you, okay? I'm sorry, but I don't. And you had no right to do what you did. At this point, Gaston gets very angry. Probably the angriest we've seen him yet. He's like, well, okay, well, I'd rethink that answer if I were you. And he opens the door to reveal Creepy Tony J, Asylum Guy!
What? We didn't get the scene beforehand with him?
Now, I wanted to leave it more ambiguous. It becomes clear by the end, so he's not really a necessary character. Like, who even is this guy? Creepy, corrupt asylum guy with clearly some sort of jaundice going on that just happens to be voiced by Tony J. But we do see him at the end.
Right, I guess. I mean, I guess the whole thing, though, is that the reason why it's in the movie originally is to show the lengths that Gaston would go to get Belle as his girl, and, like, and just also to show that, like, he pays off the guy.
Well, we can show that here. He says, and Creepy Tony J says, I've come to collect your father. And then he reveals the wagon, which says, Asylum Deloons. It's such an odd joke. It's such a dramatic scene. But anyway. And Belle's like, my father is not crazy. Tell him, Gaston. Well, he has been talking about a beast and enchanted castle. And he sort of gives a knowing wink to Creepy Tony J, Asylum Guy. Maybe slips him a coin or something. And the Asylum Guy is like, oh, yes, don't worry. We'll take excellent care of your father, Quasimodo. I mean, Belle. And Gaston is just like, but, of course, I could give him a little bit of a word and maybe get this whole matter cleared up if you finally admit your feelings for me. Because let's be honest, we both know you have them. And Belle's just like, oh, hell no. My father's not crazy and I've got the receipts, motherfucker. And the townspeople who have been gathered here are just like, wait, what? And she shows them the mirror, shows them the beast, and it's just like, oh my god, there is an actual beast. And the townspeople sort of turn on Gaston at this point. Wait a minute, you told us all that Maurice was crazy. You said there was no beast. Were you lying this whole time? And Gaston at this point is really looking really sort of panicked. He's fearful of losing the respect of the town. And so he tries to steer the conversation towards the beast. Oh, it's not my fault. How was I to know he was actually real? And let's not forget, he kidnapped Belle and imprisoned Maurice. And he clearly must be stopped. He's a threat to all of us. And he sort of plays on their fears, much like in the original. But Belle's just like, well, have you met the beast? I don't need to meet the beast. We can clearly see that he's vicious. Well, I have. He's nice and gentle, and he has a name. It's Adam. It said so in some random book somewhere related to possibly the stage musical. I don't know. It's there. And the townspeople are just like, huh. Yeah, Gaston, I think we need more information before we go on this murder rampage you're suggesting. He's like, what? But come on, I'm Gaston. It's me. I'm the hero of the town. LeFou, you agree with me, right? Maybe, no, this is getting a bit much, Gaston. You're talking about killing a guy. And so Gaston just has a full-on meltdown. He completely loses his shit and runs away.
Okay.
Thoughts on this?
I mean, it's fine. I kind of like the murderous town, but sure.
It's just like, I want to drive Gaston full-on mental. What does he care about? He supposedly cares about Belle, and he cares about being the hero of the town in both versions. So let's take both away from him and leave him with nothing, not even LeFou. Let's drive him to his lowest point.
Yeah, I guess.
And also, this provides a great juxtaposition with him and the Beast. The Beast had everything taken away from him, and whilst he did lose his humanity, he found a way to the other side of that. He isn't gonna.
Right. I guess the thing is that to see how this ends up. Because the thing is that the mob ends up, and Gaston leading the mob, ends up raising the stakes for both Belle and the Beast. So I'm curious how you're going to end up raising the stakes for them if there's no angry mob actually threatening to kill somebody.
Well, that's the thing, you see. So the villagers then leave, they sort of file off and tell creepy Tony J. some guy to sling his hook. And Belle takes her father aside and says that she wants to go back to Adam. She's like, what? That horrific monster? And she's like, he's not a monster. He really isn't. He's got some problems, clearly, but I think he's just lonely, or he's just been trapped in that castle for so many years. I feel a connection with him that I never felt here. And you understand that, right? And Maurice is just like, of course I understand. You think I didn't know? All these years seeing you grow up into the wonderful person that you are, and then seeing how the village just rejected you and called you odd and all that. I've always wanted you to find yourself, find your adventure. Is this really it? And she's, yes. Well, then you must go to him. Fortunately, at that point, Gaston, right as they're about to leave, comes back, now that the villagers are all gone, and kicks him into the basement and locks it, saying, well, you know what? Fuck you, Belle. I'm off to kill the beast. Maybe we can get a version of the Kill the Beast song just with Gaston.
No.
It's just him.
No, you ruined it. You ruined the song. You ruined it.
But here's the thing. So you're talking about the stakes. Really, what stakes do the villagers raise? Gaston raises the stakes.
He does, but the thing is that I feel like, remember, part of the reason why, and this is the problem with making Gaston like kind of a nice guy, I guess, as well, and not just a complete asshole, is that the issue is that the villagers don't respect Belle or Maurice at all in the original version. Like, they're the odd man out. So they're gonna believe Gaston no matter what.
Possibly. And honestly, you could get the villagers going and it would make it work. But I just feel like I just want to focus. I want to focus on the final confrontation involving Belle, Adam, and Gaston. And the villagers, that whole sequence, I mean, it's funny, but I don't think we really need funny at this point in the third act. I think we need slightly more serious business. And that bit where the guy gets sucked into the wardrobe and comes out a cross-dresser, where Cogsworth stabs a guy in the butt, and when Lumiere sets the same guy on fire on his butt. Maybe we don't need that, you know?
I guess, but it also, like, puts the entire castle, like, in terms of, like, the entire castle is fighting for their lives, essentially. It's not just about the beast, it's about everybody.
Maybe, there's an aspect. So we'll put an option on that. Maybe the villagers come, maybe they don't. It's fine either way. But in either case, Belle and Maurice escape with the help of Chip, same as before. Meanwhile, at the castle, Adam, with the village either sieging or not sieging, bemoans the loss of Belle. And Lumiere and everyone points out that she might come back, but he just doesn't believe him. He's just so far gone in his grief and loss and loneliness. And so he looks at the rose that's been continually wilting this whole time, and he takes off the bell jar, and he's just like, he's about to give in to his rage once more, give in to his temper, and he raises a fist to smash the fucking rose. But do you know who stops him? Cogsworth. Because throughout this whole movie, in the original, Cogsworth has been the most subservient to the beast. Lumiere less so, Mrs. Potts very little, but Cogsworth has been completely and utterly, oh yes, master, very good master. But the first time he stops him, much to the shock of Mrs. Potts and Lumiere. He gets in front of him and says, no, you don't, master. And everyone's just like, what? And Cogsworth says, we have looked after you our whole lives. You have never once shown us a bit of gratitude, and that's fine because we're staff. But then you had to go and get yourself cursed and get us all like this too. And you know what? You may have given up hope, but we haven't. So, sir, you will show us a little bit of gratitude. And Adam puts his fist down. It's sort of like shocked, like, holy shit, Cogswell stood up to me. Oh, crap. And he sort of softens and he's like, you're right, I'm sorry to all of you. I never wanted this to happen to all of you. I really didn't, and I'm sorry. And they're like, it's okay. And he's like, I still don't think the curse is going to be broken. And they say, Lumiere, Mrs. Potts, and Cogsworth, all, they say, it's true, we want to be human again, but you know what else we want? What? We want to see you happy again, like you were when you were a child. And we think Belle could make you genuinely happy. You just have to have a bit of hope. And he looks out over the balcony, and he sees Belle arrive, and there's a glimmer of hope. And at that point, Gaston bursts in and shoots him in the back. Twang!
Yeah, okay.
So I think that ties up the whole character development for Lumiere, Cogsworth, and Mrs. Potts a bit better.
Yeah, I mean, I guess.
Yeah. But it still leads into the same confrontation. Gaston shoots him back, he falls out, they have a fight on the roof. And there's just a couple of things I want to change. First of all, when Gaston says, we're about to kill the beast, and he says, Belle is mine. Belle arrives at the roof and says, no, I'm not. Shut up. And at that distraction, Adam grabs Gaston and holds him over the edge of the roof. And at this point, Gaston is like, oh shit, please don't kill me. Belle, please, tell him not to kill me. I did all this because I love you. She's like, no, Gaston, you don't love me. You never really did. Adam, let him go. And he does. And they get that whole scene with them reaching for each other. And
I gotta stop you right there. Beast needs to make the decision to let Gaston go. It can't be Belle's decision. Because
she asks him to let him go, but it's still his decision.
But it should be his decision. Like he shouldn't need anybody to even offer that. He needs to just do it on his own, because that's like the final piece of like him being like, I'm not gonna be a beast.
Regaining his, you know what? You're absolutely right. Actually, you know what? Yes, Belle, same as before, tells him that he doesn't love her really. And Gaston is just like, oh God, I don't want to die. And the Beast is just like, plop, get out. Same as before. So it's still very much his decision. You're absolutely right.
Yep. Okay, yep. Keep going.
and then we get the whole Belle, who came back bit. But then Gaston, same as before, stabs him in the back, same as before. Here's the thing. I had an idea, and I'm really not sure if it's a good idea. I want to get your perspective.
Okay.
What if he stabs Beast in the back, and as he's about to stab him again, Belle pushes him back, causing him to fall?
So you're saying Belle pushes Gaston into the cliff?
It's not so much her pushing him off the roof, more her pushing him away from Beast that causes him to fall off the roof. This is why I'm a bit concerned about it, because I don't want to turn Belle into a fucking killer, but also I want her to defend the Beast, you know?
Well, she kind of does in the original, because they're both about to fall, and she chooses the Beast over Gaston. She chooses to save the Beast.
Yeah, but that's a fucking easy... do I save the guy who's been nice to me and, you know, who I'm starting to develop feelings for? Or do I save the dickbag who tried to have my father committed? Oh, it's such a difficult decision.
Yeah, but I mean, it's still her choice.
Yeah. Okay, again, option on that one. Mulligan on that one. And either way, Gaston dies, fall to his death. Whee! And then... exactly the same sequence as before. Beast dies, Belle says she loves him, he goes all Super Saiyan and then turns human. Boom! It's all good. And then the spell completely goes off the castle. All Cogsworth, Lumiere, Mrs. Potts and everyone else become human again. Boom, everything's great. Here's the thing though. in the original, the only really lines they share when once he's human is, "Belle, it's me. It is you," and that's it. And in here, I want to have a bit more dialogue. He's just, "Belle, it's me. Really? Yes. I wanted to tell you so much. I was cursed because I was a bit of a snarky brat when I was 11, apparently, and so I was cursed with a spell that could only be broken if I truly love someone and they love me back, as long as they didn't know about the curse, which is why no one knows there's a castle there. Because don't forget, we haven't got that exposition introduction in this version, so we need finally like someone to say something that we put the pieces together ourselves, but now we've finally got confirmation, you know?
Right.
And they're just like, "So it is really you?" "Yes," looks in his eyes. "It is you. Adam, yay!" And it's all great. And then them dancing together with quick change. He's in new duds. She's in that yellow dress that they want to sell the kids. And it's all good. And he, as they're dancing, he tells her, "There is a home here for you and your father if you want it." And she's like, "Yep, sounds good to me." The ending.
Cool.
I think this is better.
I think that this should have been the 2017 version, to be honest. I still don't have a problem with the animated version. Yeah, this should have just been the 2017 live action remake.
Maybe, but would this have really not worked if it was the 1991 animated version?
I mean, it works. I just don't. This is the issue: is that I don't have an issue with the 1991 animated version at all. So it's like, when they said that they were going to do the 2017 version, I was hoping that they would do stuff like this to make it different enough, but also have the similarities. Which is why I'm saying I feel like this should have been the 2017 version that we deserved. Instead
Well, I'd be happy with that too, but I don't know. I think here's the problem. You see, I want rewatching this movie for this episode. I want to like this movie. I do. Out of all the Disney movies, this is the one I want to like that I don't like the most. But there's too many things for me personally that hold it back, like the not Stockholm syndrome, like Gaston's characterization, like Belle's lack of agency. So many little things, and big things, frankly. So it dies the death of 1,000 cuts. And here, I think we've gotten rid of those cuts, at least partially.
Yeah, I mean, partially. I mean, I don't know. I still think Belle has plenty of agency, but that's debatable. And I like Gaston being an asshole from the beginning, personally.
Again, that's interpretations. I mean, the episodes, the rescript episodes we do on this show will always be what ifs because it's pure speculation. Maybe this would have been a much, much better version than the 1991 version. I think so. But maybe not. We'll never know for certain. And considering the fact that I'm not time traveling anymore, we definitely will not know.
Well, let's be fair. The other rescripts were automatically better than the shit that we got. So
yeah, but
I feel like this is the first one where it's like we don't know. The other ones, pretty certain they were better.
And the thing about a story like this is it has had many adaptations before in the past and will continue to have adaptations, both of the Disney version and different versions, in the future. You think Disney are going to let this one lie? No. There's going to be more Beauty and the Beast stuff. There has been with the fucking awful sequel movies that we talked about last year.
Oh yeah, those are crap.
Oh, why did they give Mrs. Potts seasonal affective disorder? Why?
I don't even remember them. I just know the only good thing about the sequels is that Tim Curry's there being a giant organ. That's it. That's it.
That's and also, he has keys.
Yeah, that's it. That's the only good thing about it.
Oh God! And he's so gay in that movie. He just wants to be alone with the Beast in their codependent, destructive gay relationship.
Yeah, and you know what? That's fine for comedy,
Oh God! Anyway, So that's my version of the movie. I think it's better, but again, it's just an interpretation, and let's be honest, out of all the bad Disney movies, this is the one that I knew I was going to get the most pushback on. Because whilst it's much easier for me to defend why I hate Little Mermaid and shit like that, it's slightly harder with Beauty and the Beast. Not that I don't think it's worth it, and not that I don't think this is important, but you might have your own interpretation, and that's fine. Here's the thing. The reason why I feel comfortable talking with you, Jillian, about this is because whilst you have your interpretations that I might not agree with on the original movie, it's not like you're blind to its flaws.
I mean, every movie in hindsight has flaws. That's just the art of filmmaking. It's all a matter of, are those flaws so bad and glaring that it ruins the rest of the movie for you? And for me, it doesn't. Because I think that there's a lot of good stuff in Beauty and the Beast where those flaws don't ruin it. It's the same thing with Frozen. How people are like, well, how did Elsa get her powers? I'm like, I don't give a shit. It's fine. Like, just let the movie go. Do its thing.
I'm not going to get sidetracked by talking about fucking Frozen right now. God. Oh, you want my feelings on Frozen? Go watch that SNL skit with Kate McKinnon where she's just like, Anna, Olaf, I'm gay. Anyone?
Oh yeah, no, but that was Frozen too. But you know,
that's
a whole other can of worms.
That's a whole other kettle of fish. And on the visual concept of a kettle full of fish, I think that's where we're going to end the show. Thank you very much, Jillian, for joining me today.
Yeah, no worries.
And if you enjoyed the show, Capers, please tell your friends. Shout it from the rooftops. And if you haven't already, go back and listen to some of our other super episodes, like previous Rescript episodes, or our more recent Dirty Disney Dozen 4. And if you haven't already, go back and listen to some of our other... No, I didn't know about. You can listen to the show on iTunes, Podbean, So I'm going to start that... I'm going to take a bit of water and just start that all again.
Go for it.
You can listen to the show on iTunes, Podbean, YouTube, Spotify, or at podcapers.com. If you want to get in touch with us, suggest show topics, or maybe come on the show yourself, you can find us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at APTUHYC. Thank you very much to Dan Harris for our logo, the lovely microphone, and the Red Roof 3D glasses. Those are mine. And thank you for listening. This has been Podcapers, the official podcast of a place to hang your cape. Cue the music!